Hello, everyone, and welcome to Out and Equal's Global Webinar Series. Today's webinar is called Post-Section 377 Workplaces in India, Progress and Future Goals. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us today. My name is CV Viverito. I am the Global Initiatives Manager here at Out and Equal, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's webinar. Okay, first of all, I'd like to just make some very brief technical announcements for all of you logging in or dialing in today. Just keep in mind that this is a broadcast audio call from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. if you're where I am on the East Coast, or from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. if you're in India. So please make sure to use the speakers or headsets on your computer, have that volume turned up. If you are having trouble with your computer audio, you can dial in to one of the phone numbers that was in your confirmation email, and I've also included it in our participant chat box. So you can use any of those numbers if you're having computer audio troubles. You can also send us a quick chat to let us know what your technical issues are, and we'll get them taken care of. If you have a colleague who's having trouble logging into the webinar, you can let them know that they can go to readytalk.com, click on Join a Meeting, and use our access code 6946521. As I said, you can let us know anything through that chat box. It's also very useful for sending in your content-related questions. So you don't need to wait till the end of the webinar to send in all your questions. As our presenters are speaking, go ahead and send in your comments, your thoughts, your questions as you think of them. And at the end, we're going to facilitate a 15-minute Q&A session. Last but not least, just a friendly reminder that this webinar will be recorded and sent to you after the call. Okay, I'm going to highlight some announcements, some upcoming webinars and events here. Our next global webinar is going to be on August 14th. That's going to be a reflection on what we've learned in the past year, going over some global research on LGBTQ workplace inclusion. I'm also going to highlight some events here. On June 13th, coming up right around the corner, is our China Forum in partnership with Shanghai Pride. That's happening in Shanghai, China. And because it's particularly relevant to this conversation, I'd like to specifically highlight our India Forum, which will be happening on August 8th at the Lalit in Bangalore. We're really excited about the second iteration of this forum. As some of you may know, last year had over 170 people from over 100 companies. And this year we're expanding the event, adding new content, including a beginner and advanced track and more regional perspectives. So that registration actually opens very soon, so keep a lookout for an email from us on that. Similarly, as I'm sure one of our presenters, Ram, might be speaking about later, the organization Pride Circle is going to be organizing an event on July 12th called Rise, which will actually be India's first LGBTQ job fair. Super exciting, so you might be able to hear a little bit more about that later. Okay, and before we get to presenting the topic and the presenters, I'd just like to present this little interactive poll. So these are going to be happening throughout the webinar. Feel free to click on the response that most pertains to your experience in your workplace. You should see the results populate live on the screen. And for anybody dialing in and can't see the screen, I'll let you know. Our audience poll says, what stage of LGBTQ inclusion is your company in? Either the initial stage, so maybe about a year or so of working on it, or less than. Intermediate stage, about 1 to 3 years. Advanced stage, 3+ years. So as we're looking at our poll results, it looks like the majority of people are saying their company has been doing LGBTQ inclusion work for more than 3 years. Looks like coming in about less of you, but about the same amount are saying initial or intermediate stage. So it's interesting to know before we get started with today's topic. Great. Thank you for participating in that, and there will be more to come later on. Okay, with that, I'm going to take a moment to present the topic and today's presenters and let them get to their presentations. So leading up to the 1 year mark after Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code was read down by the Supreme Court, we're checking in with companies and an NGO here to see, what's changed, what hasn't, what are the goals moving forward. During this webinar, we're going to hear from RBS and ANZ and the really interesting and progressive steps that they've taken toward creating more inclusive workplaces. So we're going to hear some tips and advice from the corporate side of things. And last but not least, we're going to hear from Pride Circle, which is an NGO in India that is at the forefront of pushing the boundaries of D&I work in India. So taking a moment to introduce our wonderful speakers. First, we're going to hear from Srikanth, who is a marketing and HR and employer branding and D&I specialist. He's passionate about D&I, where he works in the corporate sector, driving LGBTQ inclusion, gender equity, and responsible allyship. He's a vice president at RBS and is the LGBT innovative lead. And actually in his personal time, he writes about these topics and participates in community outreach and mentoring. Next, we're going to hear from Shagun from ANZ, who has over 12 years work experience in various industries with a large part of her career in HR. So prior to working at ANZ and being a part of their global team, she was a senior HR generalist in the aviation and apparel industry. Her passion lies in believing that inclusive environments and celebrating differences should be the part of the DNA of every organization, and that every individual should be able to bring their best selves to work. And last but not least, I'm proud to call our third presenter a very good friend of mine, Ram, the co-founder of Pride Circle. Ram has also authored In and Out, the Indian LGBT Workplace Climate Survey 2016, which was published by Mingle, and it's played a crucial role in progressing the conversation in the Indian workplaces. Ram has also have a long list of recognitions, such as the Global D&I Hero of the Year in 2017 at Intel. He is the winner of the prestigious Champion of the Year award from Out and Equal. And was featured in the list of 50 LGBT plus future leaders globally by Outstanding in the Financial Times. Currently, he's compiling stories of LGBTQ allies in the blog titled 101 Coming Out Stories from India, which I'm personally looking forward to when he gets to Story 101. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Srikanth to kick us off.
Thanks so much, Phoebe. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'm really excited to be a part of this webinar. So I'm just going to jump right in. So September 6, 2018 was one of those days where I bet you're going to ask and wonder, where were you, what were you doing when the judgment came out? And I know this was a momentous day for every ally and every person from the community that I ever met and knew. The outpouring of love and support was, it was extensive. Everybody was just out there cheering. I, for my part, was actually traveling from Bangalore to Chennai to run a workshop and missed the celebrations that were happening in Bangalore at that time. But one of the things that, was really important to me as both LGBTQ lead and as an ally for the cause is that right away I wanted it to be known that RBS as an organization was extremely supportive, and we 100% welcomed the judgment and the ruling that came out of the Supreme Court that day. So, first things first, call my friends, congratulate everybody I knew, hugs and kisses. Then right away, the next immediate thing on my list of things to do was to put a post out there on our social media page saying RBS is extremely proud to stand with the community on that historic day. So you're going to see a trend here. RBS is extremely vocal ever since we started our journey about a year and a half ago for the support that we show the community and for the kind of work we do in this space. And this is something that was unique to us when we first started, but now I'm happy to say that we're just one of a multitude of companies that are actually doing this. On the left, you'll see images of our CHRO, our Chief HR Officer, Anuranjita Kumar. That day, she was on a couple of news channels talking about how RBS absolutely welcomed the judgment, and this was long overdue, and this was something that should have been done ages ago, but better late than never. This is what I mean when I say that it's a trend, because we tend to get out there, we tend to say loudly and proudly that we support the community, and this is absolutely the way to go about things. So September 7th, like I said, I was on my way to conduct a workshop. It was our first transgender inclusion workshop at RBS, and right away, I'd attended a number of these, but the immediate change that you noticed was a kind of, a euphoric excitement in the room. Everybody that was there was cheering, we were happy, hugs, The fact that the criminality of this had gone away was obviously a huge win for everybody from the community and all the hard work that had come for the decades running up to this particular day. But as was made evident in the workshop, people were coming up to us and saying, all right, the legalization is gone, now what? We're in no way done, right? We're just getting started, and that is why the excitement kind of bled into the room and the workshop itself, because it drove a lot of the conversations about, all right, what's the next thing we got to do? What's the next milestone we got to reach? What's the next goal? And that, I think, kind of tells you that post-377, that was a great win for the community, but plenty of work to be done. So when I say that RBS was in the news, we were in the news quite actively. This was a decision we made right when we were starting our journey. Back in late 2017, when we were talking about starting work, actively in the LGBTQ space, we said that this is something that we needed to do loudly, because to be an ally, you can't be an ally from the shadows, right? In order to make a difference, you need to have it be let known that you as an organization, as a multinational corporation, stand by the community, and that means something. Right away, we received a lot of calls, a lot of questions from other people concerned about, did you guys get any backlash? And this is all pre-377. We launched our same-sex partner medical benefits in April of 2018, and we received a lot of calls from corporations saying, is this safe to do? Is this the right way to go? And resoundingly for us, it's been a huge yes. There was an outpouring of support from the community which said, you know what, we needed an MNC to actually do this. So there were a lot of companies that were doing things, albeit quietly, but the statement of intent was something that the community appreciated in a very big way. Like I'm happy to say, this is not something that's a one-off anymore. Ever since the judgment came out, almost on a regular weekly basis, we see different companies coming out in the news with more benefits added, with different kind of initiatives being launched, with EIGs getting set up, with and not just in the corporate space, right? So we see this in the world as well. Many of our friends from the community are now talking about inclusive living communities, inclusive restaurants where you get to eat. So you see the ripple effect of this in the world at large, and this happens almost on a regular basis, which is very exciting. So when I said we got right back to work, I meant it. We recognized that, all right, this is a good win, now what next? And for us, we set our sights solely, absolutely on getting the word out there that we were an inclusive employer. Now, the culture at RBS is one that actually makes you feel welcome, makes you feel safe. It's a place where we don't just have the policies, which we do, but we also have a culture that says, you are free to be whoever you want to be, and this only your work is what kind of defines you. We made a video to this effect. This is just still right now, but there's a QR code on the side. If you guys want to, just skip that and watch it later, then I encourage you to. We put out a video saying that RBS is an organization that has, A, B, C, D, X number of policies, which are LGBTQ inclusive. we said that an employee can be themselves and not be afraid to bring their true selves to work. We said that everybody's protected through prevention of sexual harassment being gender and orientation neutral. And just it was about communicating what an inclusive workplace we are. And this kind of talks to our intent and talks to what we actually wanted to portray about who we are as an organization. Another aspect of this, I think, this is really important, is the fact that D&I in general and LGBTQ in particular are very, very core to our DNA as an organization. It is a part of our employer brand. We take pride, great pride in saying that we are an inclusive workplace. We publish this on our career site, which is our primary mode of communication with the world at large in India. RBS India's career site is one that, where all jobs are posted and where everything else happens. And fortunately, I wear the hat of also being the employer brand lead for RBS in India, right? So that kind of gives me a unique position to be able to work on something like, Rainbow and also be able to talk about it. And we have support from, both the top of the organization as well as from the employee body at large to go out and say this. And that's exactly what we did. On the right, you'll see a write-up about the Rainbow Network and what we do and how we support Pride in India. And on the left is a colleague of ours who's actually chosen to transition at work. And this was another really powerful statement that we made in that we were telling the community that, if you need to transition and you don't need to, take a break or forgo it for lack of a place to work, you can have the financial and, job security that you need while you go through this very, life-changing event. So we do, because our social media is, I'm sure, like for most of you, a very integral part of our employer brand and how we tell our stories. This is just 3 posts, but we have a slew of posts that we have out on the regular. Not just around LGBTQ, but we talk about the work we do in the women and gender space, in the people with disability space, and the LGBTQ space as well. So we've been awarded 3 awards for us in the past 18 months. Won the SHRM Award and 2 runners-up positions from Beyond Diversity and Community Business for Excellence in LGBTQ. We take great pride in inviting, people from the community to come and talk to our employee body and say, this is our life experience, this is who we are, and please feel free to ask any questions. We had Madhumita, who is India's first HR professional, transgender HR professional, and she spoke beautifully about her journey and her perseverance in the face of adversity. On the right, you'll see another story that came out in February of this year. Just because, we have a whole bunch of policies, but that doesn't mean that work ever stops. We got right back to it. And for a person in transition, we are working on different aspects like, transition support at the workplace. What does that mean in terms of paid leave? What is the kind of managerial support you'll require from the organization, and so on and so forth. So there's just 3, but we have multiple things like this. These are multiple different streams that we kind of work on. We also do a lot of work about conversations at the workplace. We had a diversity and inclusion week wherein we invited everybody in, and we had tables at all of our offices saying, come and ask us questions. If you were interested in engaging with us, if you could ask questions, you could just sign up to be an ally for the Rainbow Network. You could post a little statement about why is it that you support LGBT inclusion. Take a picture if you're if you're comfortable and so inclined, and we can post that on our internal social sites. We got some fantastic response. This is the kind of thing that we are very excited about doing, and which is a huge focus for us this year, is to really spread the word and inculcate the message within the employee body, and to make it the very fabric of who we are. So it's about having conversations. We normalize, difficult topics, and we try to talk about it, and we let people who don't know come and ask us questions in a safe manner, so that they leave with fewer misconceptions. Part of the conversations at work, the Rainbow Network is, like I said, it's something that's been growing. It's our employee resource group. When we first started, it was I think 5 members. It became 20 when we first started. Today, I'm extremely happy to say it's over 200 people from across the country. We meet often. We talk about the issues. We have working groups which are working on the different streams that we have currently going on. Policies and background verification checks for people trying to find employment within the organization, a whole bunch of different things. We also use things like lanyards, pins. I personally have a flag on my desk at work and a rainbow flag, and this is kind of an indicator that anybody and everybody can just come and talk to me about anything about them, right? There's no rules, there's no judgments. It's a safe space where people can just engage me in conversation, and I'm an ally. It's really interesting because the lanyards, you think, are a fairly subtle way of doing it. However, when Ross McEwen, the RDS CEO, came down to India, we asked him to wear this for the entire time he was here, and he was more than happy to oblige, right? This is a common thread in RBS, is that our leadership has been extremely supportive of what we do. So we've been fortunate that we've had mobilization both from the top down and from the bottom up. And that has really helped us in, getting us to where we need to be. We continue to show our support publicly. RBS is a very vocal presence in prides. We've been at every pride in the cities where we're present. From Delhi in 2017, that's late 2017. We march, we show our support. We're happy to just say that we're here and we support Pride, we support the community. This is something that we will continue to do as well. The last bit is really around what our plans are going forward. 2019 is a big year for us. We're going to be doing a number of things differently, which is first and foremost, we're going to focus on hiring, right? We have the policies in place. We did all the good. We're doing the conversations. We're spreading the word. We're growing the network. All that is great. But what is the tangible benefit that the community will derive? Employment. We want to place people within the organization from the community in whatever manner they choose to. They could be out. They could be not. It doesn't matter to us. But we, through what CV was talking about, Ram will tell you about it in a little bit. We're participating in the LGBTQ job fair. Our talent acquisition team, the function where I sit in, is actively building pipelines of people from the community to be able to place into risk, finance, ops, technology, and all of our different business streams. We have managers who actively engage us in conversation about, how do we go about doing this? What is the employment chances and opportunities in this pool of people? We're building an internship for people from underprivileged backgrounds, particularly the transgender community, because they've been especially hard hit in India in terms of access to opportunities. So we've designed it. We're in the process of implementing it. It should go live in the next quarter. It'll basically provide a chance for people from the community to apply, people who've never had any corporate experience to come in, get a foot in the door, receive all kinds of training from computer skills, business language, etiquette, communication, and on-the-job training with a team. If they successfully complete the internship, we look to kind of give them a chance to work with us on a part-time basis while they pursue a degree through distance ed, which RBS will kind of, take on the cost for. And this is something that we're very excited about, and when we go live, we'll obviously keep people informed. The last bit is around awareness and education. This is really to do with the conversations that I was talking about. We also do Mythbuster sessions and unconscious bias trainings across the organization. These Mythbusters are an opportunity for us to talk about what it means to be from the community. So it's almost like a LGBTQ 101, right? It talks about spectrums. It talks about, all the different aspects of what it means to be LGBTQ, or as many as we can cover. And also seeks to bust myths about commonly held notions or preconceived ideas that people might have, and really engage them in trying to understand why they do this, why do you think this is, or why do you believe that is, and correct people's understanding. These are the really big things that we have focused for 2019. It's about active on-the-ground involvement in conversations, building awareness, and in employment. And that really has our focus at the moment. Once we have this and we build this into something that's more sustainable, then we'll look to move on to, even more, hopefully more ambitious targets. So yeah, that for the most part is me. And CD, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to just step in for a second here to present this second poll to everybody before we get to the next presentation. So this one says, does your company's office have a local LGBTQ, ERG, BRG, affinity group chapter? So just wanted to take a pulse and see where our audience is at with that. Looks like over 20 people are saying yes, 3 people have said no. So wow, okay. The majority of your company's office location does have a chapter. Very great to hear. Very cool. Thank you for participating in that second poll, and there's going to be one more later on, so stay tuned. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it along to our second presenter, which will be Shagun from ANZ.
Thanks, CD. Srikanth, that was great listening to you. And I'm really happy to be, part of this event. I'm sure people, all of you here listening to us will find probably a lot of things that are repeated here in what I have to say as well. Anyway, let me start off by saying it feels wonderful to be part of this event, and I am representing my organization ANZ, which is the Australia-New Zealand Bank with its home office in Australia, and I am part of the service center in Bangalore, India. I think this is the best time to have had this event because the month of June being the Pride Month, which is celebrated globally. ANZ, I am proud to say that we are an inclusive organization, and I'm here to share with all of you our journey prior to the Section 377 ruling, what has changed for us post the ruling, and also what our future plans with inclusions are. Like I said, a bit of it might sound repetitive because of what Srikanth has already spoken and what they do at RBS. It's wonderful to hear that, but I'm happy to share what we do at ANZ as well. So the first slide that talks about our purpose, which is for Pride, it's shape and connect our world so that everybody can embrace their authentic selves and thrive. Which is, we would like every single individual, whether gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, intersex, or queer, everyone should feel empowered and included at work. I'll talk about the next slide, which is our journey. As a bank, ANZ is and has been an inclusive organization. We recognize that our customers are part of the community as well, and we encourage and embrace members of the community. As part of a market survey, the LGBTQ community economically, the economy globally is valued at more than $4.5 trillion, and the Indian LGBTQ economy alone is estimated over $117 billion. So as a bank, we are aware of that, and we definitely recognize our customers, and we would want to be, to include them as part of the, part of everything we do and embrace them as members. The ruling of Section 377, of course, like Srikanth said, was a historic moment for India and for the LGBTQ community. But at ANZ, our leaders had supported inclusion, and we'd already commenced this journey prior to that ruling. But I think when this ruling came about, everyone was elated, and it only enabled us to move ahead full-fledged and to drive it with more rigor within the organization, putting behind all the misconceptions that were probably predominant prior to that ruling. So every step we needed to take prior to that, probably, there were hurdles or there were, second thoughts, there were obstacles. But once that ruling came, it's not like everything is going great now. There's a lot more to move ahead. But that ruling definitely did help us, get into that path full-fledged. So as first steps, what we did is in 2018, January, we formed the Pride Steering Committee within ANZ, where every leader from an individual business unit or division became a member, and each one took an ownership and initiative, to drive initiatives. We commenced initially with a dual approach, one towards hiring and sensitization. One was sensitization, and one while we took initiatives during hiring. And both of them ran concurrently. So, although it was a dual approach, we ensured that it ran concurrently. We also had allies, like Srikanth said. We had people who were passionate about this and who wanted to be inclusive to join this and become allies. And we have more than 100 members within the service center. And we're still counting because people keep registering and want to join us, which is great. The enthusiasm and all the ideas actually help us, build initiatives for the year and how to make it better and better every day and make it a better inclusive workplace. So I'm taking you through the next slide, which talks about one of our dual approach, which is the sensitization. Within sensitization, we worked on our policies. In terms of policies, we were not in the best place when, from an Indian legal standpoint. And our facilities and our infrastructure, the benefits like medical insurance, etc., did not support our folk from the community. So we had to work to ensure that we had these things in place before we thought and, ensured that we made ANZ an inclusive workplace. So when we started off with the sensitization part, we ensured that we had a policy, we had a medical policy. I think Srikanth said that as well. We had a medical insurance policy to include to cover same-sex partners. So the policy had been updated to include, instead of just spouse, we also had a partner included in that list. And the people who are going through, transitions, we supported with medical leaves whenever required, even if it meant that they were just in their initial days of being employees of ANZ and just joined the organization. We provide employee assistance programs for anyone who requires wellness support for professional or counseling, and they can seek help at any time. So it's a paid service that ANZ provides to anybody who wants it. We have included gender diverse washrooms within our campus. And on sensitization programs, we have plenty of programs across the organization, starting with the leadership team and other members who work closely with Pride folk within their teams. So the sensitization programs have also been extended to our support staff, like the housekeeping staff, cafeteria, transport teams, because these are areas where employees, extend to day, and we want all of them to be sensitized. The support staff in ANZ are largely on a contract basis from a vendor organization, and hence we find it extremely imperative to have them sensitized on Pride and being inclusive. And this is an ongoing process. So this is something we do ongoing at regular intervals. These people come from vendor companies, and there is a possibility that their contracts expire and they could be replaced. So to keep it on and going, we have regular sensitization sessions for them. And it's imperative that every vendor company that liaises with ANZ has to go through a sensitization program. So as a whole, as an organization, at the organization level, we have reviewed and we've updated all our people policies to be gender neutral. So the next slide is about the other part of the dual approach, which is hiring, where all our interviewers are trained and sensitized prior to recruitment to ensure that it's comfortable and seamless. So everybody or every member who comes from the community who comes to attend an interview at ANZ, this is our first step at making them feel welcome in our organization. And all teams who are going to have Pride members from the Pride folk who are going to be onboarded, they are sensitized, and our recruitment team front ends the sensitization prior to the onboarding process. We have tie-ups with talent and sensitization partners, and they provide us with a database for the people we're going to hire, and that's from the community, as well as if they want to support us with sensitization programs. We're very proud to, the next slide actually talks about some of the skill sets that some of our Pride hires bring in, and we're extremely proud of them. We have software, automation, and manual testing. We have people with excellent customer service skills. We have people with content writing as well. And of course, definitely, which is quite an array of skill sets, but some of our folk also bring in the basic skill sets required for banking roles. And our last slide, of course, speaks about the progress we're going to make and our future goals. We have a metrics, which is, we've made hiring members as part of a metrics that can be measured globally, so that we're cognizant of how many people we bring on board when compared to the offices in other geographies. So, we are able to compare and we're able to see where we are at and, to encourage people within the service center. We've also created targets for Pride hiring, although that sounds like, targets is just numbers, but when we speak of targets, it's not a quota that we're talking or measuring. This is basically to just put in place, so that hiring managers are cognizant of ensuring to include and to consider a Pride member or member from the community for every vacant position within their teams while hiring. So, however, we ensure that we are not compromising on skill sets as well. And we have worked, to create career progression plans for Pride members, for them to understand, and we have, closed door meetings, we have closed room meetings with discussions to understand their concerns and what their limitations are and how we can help them overcome it. For example, one of our team members or one of the people within a trans member was very passionate about becoming a trainer. So we put her, across to the right people. We guided her in the right direction, and we helped her realize her passion to become a trainer. And a couple of our, people from the community, as well as team members, we attend external events so that we create awareness, as well as, build exposure to the external world, and build confidence and help them, build that confidence to have, to speak in a public forum. We also have initiatives as part of our corporate social responsibility, where we conduct money-minded sessions. So money-minded sessions are basically sessions which help every individual with financial planning, basically, even in their personal lives, whether they want to make investments and how to secure their futures. So this is something that we conducted also specifically for Pride folk within ANZ. And to take it a step further, we extended our reach as social responsibility. So we've invited staff, some of our staff within ANZ have invited and volunteered to invite people from other cities, from the Pride community, and we conduct money-minded sessions for them, which will help them, take care of the future and financial planning, in their lives. So as these are the things we're doing, and I wouldn't take much longer. But all I can say is, as an organization, we understand that we are still at the start of a journey, and we have a long way to go. But our end goal is to make inclusion as part of our DNA, and we very passionately want to stick to our purpose, which ANZ says what we feel and we want to drive is to shape and connect a world so that everybody can embrace and bring their authentic selves to work and thrive. So on that note, I'll close, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shagun. And maybe you are in the beginning of the journey, but both ANZ and RBS are doing some very amazing, innovative, and thoughtful work around LGBTQ inclusion. So thank you for sharing your experience. Okay, so last live poll of the day, is diversity and inclusion a part of your job? So yes, it's an integral part of my job, meaning maybe you work in the D&I department if you have one, or perhaps H&R, or yes, as a volunteer, so maybe you're part of an ERG, or you volunteer in some other way within your company to promote diversity and inclusion, or no, but it's a personal interest. So as the results are coming in, actually a lot of the people on this call are volunteering their time to dedicate to diversity and inclusion, so thank you. That's amazing. Very, very cool to know. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our last presenter, Sinha from Pride Circle.
Hi everyone, thank you so much Sigi for the amazing introduction, and thank you for having me here. You heard the brilliant speakers Srikanth and Shagun. They haven't left for me to cover much. So I'm just going to cover a broad overview of what India looks like in a post-377 India. Feel free to type in your questions and we'll get going. So very quick introduction of myself is this snapshot. Section 377 has been a really long journey. It came in India in 1861. I'm just going to show this so that it doesn't look like something which was quick and fast, but it has been a really long journey, a very long legal battle to get there. We had some amazing wins in 2009, but that was very short-lived and reverted again in 2012. The final verdict from Supreme Court with a five-judge bench happened in 2018. And while delivering the judgment, some of the most amazing things have been said in any judgment. If you read the judgment, it's really long, but it's really wonderful. So I would really recommend all of you to take a look at the verdict. And I would just read one or two statements from the judges. One was that history owes an apology to the members of this community and their families for the delay in providing redressal for the ignominy and ostracization that they have suffered throughout the centuries. So not only was it a unanimous verdict, but also it was very heartwarming the way it was delivered. So we got it late, but it came at really beautifully. So if you can look at the slide right now, so this is how the various organizations reacted to the verdict through messages which was around LGBT inclusion, which was about celebrating the verdict. My favorite is from Tanish, which says, two of a kind, make a beautiful pair. For people who are not aware of the Indian colloquial name, so Sonu ka tittu in the ad from Red Mirchi, it basically says two guys, and or Sweetie ka bubbly is I've got two girls' names. So about celebrating love and about embracing same-sex love in a sense. So a lot of brands, a lot of organizations celebrated the verdict. So that was a very good win, not just from a legal perspective, but also from a business perspective, that so many more organizations are on board and are embracing of LGBT inclusion. Can you see my slides right?
Yes, you are on the, it looks like a movie slide.
Perfect. Yes. So a large part of the narrative of a country's culture is about the stories which are popular there. Whether it could be stories you grew up to, which kind of sets the context of the country in a sense, what the ethos are, what the beliefs are. The beliefs of the country are changing. If you look at the timeline, it's not in a chronological order, but it's some of the key movies over the last 2 years. What has happened after the verdict is the one at the top left is about Ek Ladki Ko Dekha To Aisa Laga. It's a mainstream movie by a mainstream actor. Far and few actors were taking up roles which were traditionally LGBT roles, and for fear of either a backlash to their career or whether the movie will work or if there will be stigma associated with their name if they take an LGBT role. Now we see that is going away. The next movie is Shubh Mangal Sabdan is again an upcoming mainstream movie. The one after that, Made in Heaven, is a Amazon Prime series. And one of the protagonists is gay, and they very clearly show out the challenges people face because of a 377 law. We're seeing that the narrative of an LGBT person, their personality, the layering to the character, all of that is becoming more better and more human as we progress as a society. So this is also an indication of how we are progressing as a society. So the direct impact of the verdict has been this. So right after when the verdict came, this made headlines in so many newspapers. One of the employees of Tech Mahindra tweeted out that he was waiting for the day the verdict comes for Section 377, and he tweeted out his journey and his challenges he faced when the D&I person at the organization bullied him and called him gay and effeminate. Tech Mahindra took a very responsive action. They investigated the case, found it to be true, and fired the D&I person. So this was something which became possible only because of the verdict, where now LGBT employees feel that they have a voice and they have a right to ask for an equal opportunity workplace. We're seeing that the startups and the hospitality industry is taking up leads in including people. So if you can read here, the left one is Nestaway. It's a rental home aggregator based in Bangalore, and they've consistently worked towards inclusive hiring, and they have affirmatively hired people from the trans community. Companies like Kolapski Takeaway, it's a food chain in Chennai, Drop Taxi, and BroU have hired somewhere in the 10 to 40 employees each from the trans community in various capacities and departments, which could be the packing, billing, sales, and marketing. Third Eye Cafe in Mumbai have hired 6 trans people. Bilalit Suri group of hotels, that is where the venue for the Out and Equal India Forum also, they have gender neutral communication, and they kind of gave a platform to drag performances. So they have flown down a whole lot of RuPaul drag queens for performance in India, and also enable a lot many drag queens from India and enable their careers and gave them a platform to perform. Not just that, in the city now you'll see billboards of such performances, giant billboards of drag queens performing. That is mainstreaming the conversation around LGBTI inclusion. The next topic I'll talk about what other MNCs and larger organizations are doing. So we see the larger group of hospitality group, Godrej, Tata Steel, all of these are Indian organizations, and Godrej and Tata Steel are some of the oldest Indian organizations in that sense. Then you have IBM, Accenture, Cognizant, have same-sex insurance partner coverage available to the LGBT employees. IBM, Tata Steel, Accenture, Lalit Group have same-sex reassignment surgeries. The list is longer. Very recently, Intuit also added it. And you heard Srikanth and Shagun earlier. Myntra and eBay and other e-commerce online providers are offering LGBTQ theme advertising and content. As I was talking about the content in the movies, the content in the TV series is changing. The content in web series is becoming more reflective of LGBTI stories. The same is true for ads put out by these organizations. If you might have seen an ad by P&G brand Vicks, which was about a transgender woman adopting a child. And there is a business case of that in a sense. That particular ad was played at KBC and BBC entire ad without any cost to the company because the content of the ad was so amazing. So the mainstream content is also slowly changing. A lot of these ad today are digital ads. The TV ads are yet to catch up in that sense. Apart from hiring trans people and some of these organizations like Medica Super Facility Hospital in Kolkata and BLCCs in Hyderabad are engaging at the community level to train and upskill people. While there are a lot of NGOs and CBOs who are working on upskilling people from the community, a lot of organizations are also started to invest in this particular talent pool. Talking about talent pool and investing, I am very delighted to share, and something CV mentioned a while back, that we are hosting or organizing India's first ever LGBTI job fair. Can I see some excitement in the chat box? You can just type in yay or whatever. Type in people. Yeah, so we are really happy to say that, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. India's first LGBTI job fair is actually a 3-layered event. It's a full-day conference and a half-day job fair and a half-day marketplace. And for the conference, we have Celise Berry, who needs no introduction in this particular forum. She's coming and speaking. She's a guest of honor. We have Lee Badgett, professor of economics and a researcher at World Bank, who published the data point that India loses up to 1.7% of its GDP because of homophobia. We have Dr. Jay from ThoughtWorks UK. We have an opportunity there to have an out leadership lunch where you get to have a closer conversation with an executive in India who is also out. So we have a director from Accenture, we have a VP from Deutsche Bank, we have a director from Conduent be a part of it. We have multiple breakout sessions. We're talking about specific issues like transitioning, what it means to transition, because a lot of people assume that transition means one surgery and you're done. The idea that we need to talk about it so that we have a better understanding of it, and hence we can chalk out better transitional policies. Going to the job fair, it's a half-day event. We expect around 40 companies to be a part of it. Yes, I said 40. It's unimaginably, and it was really scary when we were planning it out, but we are very happy to say that we are trending to a closure in that direction, and we have seen more and more companies come out and be a part of it. We have seen companies like a VIP joining us and a whole lot of other MNCs and a lot of startups, people with very small companies also coming out and saying, hey, we want to hire people, maybe 1 or 2 people, but definitely want to engage with this talent pool and hire. And the third piece is the LGBTI marketplace, which is basically an opportunity for an LGBTI-owned business to spotlight their products and services, and Intuit is also offered to mentor these organizations for scale. So we are really delighted about this, and we are super happy to say, and we invite all of you to be a part of it. And yep, that's it. I think I am on the time, so I'm happy to take more questions if you have. Over to CV.
Awesome. Really, really exciting and cool stuff, Ram. And everyone else that's been dialing in, thank you so much for sticking with us. And thank you to our wonderful, amazing presenters for sharing their knowledge with us too. So we started a tiny bit late, so we are going to go a tiny bit late as well. If you can all stick around for an extra couple minutes, great. If you have to get back to your day, that's okay. What we're going to do is do a short Q&A session live here on our webinar from the questions that you sent in through the chat box. We probably won't have time to get to all of them, so we got a lot of good questions, and that is okay. We are going to answer them in a follow-up blog post later on. So all of your questions will be answered, and you will be sent that blog post. So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off here. I'll go in the order that we presented because why not? The first question is for Srikanth, and this is from Lance Lacey. Says, going back to when RBS Rainbow Network started, how did you build a business case showing executive leadership why this initiative is so important?
Perfect. Thanks, Lance. Thanks, Sidi. When we first started off, it was a little bit of a. I mean, the RBS Rainbow Network had been around for a couple of years and not much had happened. We picked it up afresh and said, okay, if we really want to make a difference to our brand and to who we are, then this would be a great way to do it while absolutely doing the right thing. So I think that was the primary message that we kind of tried to put out there, saying that, you know what, we as a brand, this would be a great employer brand story for us. This would be absolutely the right thing to do, which is one of our pillars. And that's kind of how we got started. We spoke to our MD and our CHRO in India. We reached out to leadership in the UK, and in the UK, RBS is extremely inclusive already, has one of the largest rainbow ERGs of all the financial services in the UK. So everybody from the top down was supportive, and once we had that support, it was just a matter of getting going. So it's fair. It wasn't that difficult to build a case. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Awesome. Thank you for sharing your insight. Okay, I'm going to pass the next question over to Shagun. Shagun, this question is from Abhirami, who says, how did you overcome struggles to get allies to join your ERG?
Thanks, Phoebe. Abhirami, hi. So, when we actually created a forum and the Pride Steering Committee, we actually had some kind of a platform where the email went out to all staff. There was a link which people could go and register. And initially we started off by saying you didn't even need to say if you wanted to be an ally or not. That's prior to 377. I think people were not very comfortable to even be open and say they wanted to be an ally. But we had the list and the numbers, and the people who were willing to, they would come out and we join our discussions. But I think we've realized that after 377, people are less inhibited and people are very open about wanting to say that they are allies. So they have to just go and register on that link, which is a portal, and then we just welcome them into the group. We have an all-ally email group. So all the communication goes out. We have a SharePoint where we all meet, share ideas. Everything goes onto that SharePoint, and that's how we support everyone who wants to become an ally. So it's free for all. We obviously don't force anybody, but we do send out, posters to show how you can be an ally, how you can support, who is an ally, and how it would be good to join and become an ally. So that's what we do. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a great approach to doing that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
The next question I'm going to pass to you, Ram. It's an important one. I think we hear it a lot. This is from Satish, who says, how can we hire transgender people at our workplace? Can we get some help and insights on how to start? I'm sure actually you can all probably answer that, but Ram, it would be interesting to hear your perspective since you are organizing a job fair almost for that very reason. So maybe you can share some insights as to what other companies, what conversations you've had with other companies that are looking to do just this.
Absolutely. It seems challenging because this is probably the first time a company is engaging with the trans community. There are certain perceptions about the trans community. Just want to break a couple of myths around here that the entire community is not necessarily unskilled. There are a lot of trans people with PhD degrees in India. So there is a very well-educated and skilled trans community, and there's also a big section of the community which is not educated. So the job fair, we are also encouraging companies to not look at just skilled or employees, but also look at support staff roles if they can provide an avenue for people who have been marginalized for so long, have been kept at the outcast from the community, from the society, to be a part of formal sector and be part of your organization. The idea is about creating a way of engagement which could start with a basic conversation, which could be a very simple sensitization program, having a platform where you listen to the other person's story. I think there has been a lot of silos both from the organization and the community perspective, and the gap is way too much, and that leads to so much of misinformation. The more avenues of engagement we create where we can just be a conversation, it could be just a internship, a fellowship program, or a full-time role. It could definitely, and obviously having internal policies which are right so that your recruitment forms don't mention he, she, they mention they, them, because let it be gender neutral. ensuring that you have a basic all-gender restroom at your workplace, and just a general sensitivity within the organization so they feel comfortable to interact with people from the trans community. That would be some of the top 5 things you need to do to be inclusive of the trans community and hire from the space.
That's a really important insight. Thank you so much. So we actually got a lot of questions coming in at the end here, but unfortunately we're at time. But at the same time, fortunately, what we do on these webinars is we, if questions aren't answered, like they haven't been here, some of them, we're going to send all of the questions that you sent in to our wonderful presenters and get them to respond through a blog post. So I will send that blog post around to all of you after this call, along with this slide deck and along with the recording, so you're able to share with your colleagues and see the answers to the questions that we weren't able to answer here for you today live. But thank you so much for sending in your wonderful questions, for interacting with the content. Thank you so much to our amazing presenters, Srikanth, Shagun, and Ram, for sharing your very valuable insights. I think we all learned a lot today. And I'll just go ahead and pass it over to the 3 of you. If you just want to kind of wrap us up with, 30 seconds of sage advice and final observations, and then we'll go ahead and close out, and we'll be in touch with all of you soon. So we can just go in order. Srikanth, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thanks everyone for attending the webinar. It was a pleasure to speak to all of you. From the questions that I see on the chat, everyone here is already quite experienced in the space, it looks like. We'll be happy to engage in conversations just as long as we keep the conversation going. So looking forward to doing that, and I guess reach out to us anytime you need any help with anything. Shagun?
Thanks everyone. It's been great being here, and I can see that everyone's so involved and so many questions. We'd love to answer as many as we can, but it's great to see that there's so much around diversity and inclusion. I think we should make this, like in our DNA, and all of us definitely can take this forward. Happy to just be there and respond or help take this forward in any way I can. Thank you.
Hey, thanks Evie and Auringu for this opportunity to speak with this brilliant co-panelist. I would just invite everyone I have shared the link of the RISE website, and also the email is rise@thebrightcircle.com. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email us. Obviously, we'll be doing a blog post as well. But if you want to reach out for specific questions, we're happy to reply back to that. There are questions around whether someone is comfortable being out at recruitment or not. So I don't think we can cover it in a minute. So I'm happy to answer those questions. If you could just drop us a note or reach out to any of our social platforms, and we're happy to take it from there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Definitely, and I'll echo all of that. I encourage everyone to reach out to these 3 wonderful experts with any extra questions that you may have. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, wonderful presenters. We're going to close out for today, but as you do close out of the webinar, there's going to be a very brief survey after the call. Please do go ahead and fill that out. We're always looking for ways to improve, and we always value your feedback. So please leave us some, and we will speak to you next time. Thanks, everybody.